Hi, Dr. Versalotti here. I'd like to talk to you about how I scored the peer assessments. We know that peer feedback and peer assessment has a lot of beneficial consequences, and for both the receiver and the giver of the feedback. But maybe it's harder to understand how we can turn that into a graded formal assessment, which is I'm just going to pause this. Hi, Dr. Versalotti here. I wanted to share with you how I go about scoring the peer assessment project. We know that there are lots of beneficial consequences to offering opportunities for peer assessment, and the beneficial consequences extend to the person giving the feedback, but also the person receiving it, of course. But we might have trouble understanding how we can turn peer feedback into an assessment. So what I wanted to do was show that to you. So the first thing I did was look at everybody's presentation and study guide and assessment and the reflection, all of those parts, and I took notes and scored them. And after that, I wanted to then look at your Google form responses to see how the quality of your responses on the Google form, the quality of your peer assessment demonstrated your understanding of the concepts. And as you remember, it looked like this, and you answered those questions. It's kind of interesting to think about because although you might think that peer assessment reflects on the person receiving the assessment, it also reflects your knowledge, because if you don't make the connections while you're listening, whether or not the presenter made those connections, that's revealing how much you understand the course content. So we watched the presentations, and I took notes and scored it, and you took notes and scored it, and you put them on the Google form. And then what I did next is look at the responses. So this is a little bit of what it looks like when you look at the responses in the Google form and you convert it to an Excel sheet. What you can see here are in the top line, there's the questions that I asked. And what I did is I ordered them first by presenter. So let's say Bill was presenting, so I ordered all of the peer assessment responses by Bill, and I pulled out my notes, and then I looked to see where I agreed with what was said and where I had maybe a concern. So my system, you can choose another, is I put green for any comment that matched my evaluation of the presentation. If anything was neither agree or disagree, just regular, I left blank. And for certain things, I put red. For instance, if you don't see things that could be improved, that is kind of a red response for me, because in every presentation, including this one, there are things to be improved. So to me, that reflects maybe less engagement in the peer assessment task if there was nothing that could be added to improvement. So then I also looked at all of the letter grades that you assigned as you were doing it, and I highlighted the things that I agreed with. And you will notice that it didn't have to exactly match. If I thought that this, whatever this score is, this is organized plan, if I thought it was strong, A or B is fine. We're not going to nitpick. However, and these of course might be different people. Don't think that they're all the same people. But if for instance, I thought a student performed less than a B and people gave it an A, that's a little concerning to me. It might indicate like this person's response might have been to give everyone mostly A's. So that's what I wanted to think of. But again, lots of greens, and if it's middle of the road, I might not have filled in anything. The other thing I wanted to show you is I then looked at the tally. This was one of the questions you had to fill in, and this person said that the tally is a C, but if I look at all the scores, it's A's and B's. So an average of A's and B's, I'm wondering if the math is wrong. I'm not sure. We can check that, but there was something to think about there. So just something to think about that I will have to look more closely. Same with this one for the math to be 44%, even though the grades only has 1 D. I mean, it's just as mathematically not possible, I don't think, to have a 44%. So I think something is going wonky in some of these math calculations, and that's something we should think about when we do that. So then when I go and sort it by the person who did the assessment, and you do that by hitting the data and sort by that column. I hid the names because I didn't want to show that, but for the screencast, but I wanted to show you that then I can go, oh, okay, so this person, how many reds and greens does this person have? So you can see that this person has a lot of greens in the comments and maybe was a little too generous with some of the scores. A lot of A's and B's. So that just gives me an idea about this person does seem overall engaged. If this is one person, look, a lot of greens versus maybe someone who had more reds, which is not common in this class. Anyway, that's how I figured that out, and that's how I will look at the I'll use the overall greens and reds to kind of give the idea if the assessment showed attention to the effectiveness and the comments were constructive. I wanted to let you know how I'm going to do that. And then when I read the report, I can use the holistic score on the grading rubric to look at those. I hope this was helpful, and it might give you ideas of how you might kind of add some practicality and by the process of grading peer assessment or other assessments. How else might you use this technique? Something to think about.